Team Carrot Cake here, Delta.
And blue.
Throwing the last Awaken the Dragons deck profile at you guys. This is Rafael's deck. One of the hard ones to make, but a fan favorite for sure. And yeah, it's a pretty simple deck, duplicates of a lot of cards. But first thing I just wanted to address before we throw down the first card is clearly there's no backup Gardner in Rafael's deck. Konami didn't make it. However, backup Gardner was what Rafael used, so he could equip equips to backup Gardner, then summon his Guardian monsters, then move the equips from backup Gardner to his Guardian monsters. But regardless of backup Gardner, it just requires you to play the deck a little more carefully. So first off, 2 Guardian Dread Scythe.
And no, we're not going to sub it with Big Shield Garden. I wanted to see that too.
Yeah, because it doesn't have the same effect. It wouldn't really help.
Point is, it's like they don't have it, and we found nothing we liked to sub for it. Hence why there's no substitution card like we usually try to do.
Guardian Dread Scythe. Really, really good. This came out when Yugioh was destroyed. Same thing, when Yugioh is destroyed, you summon it. It can't be destroyed. You just keep destroying a card from hand. It comes back. Really, really good. However, Yugioh most of the time will die before even a Dread Scythe in hand. But it's just the way the deck plays. But regardless, we only put 2 in there because it's not like a Guardian where you can just summon it. You need to wait for specifically Yugioh to be destroyed. So 2 Dread Scythe. Then we have 3 of the big girl boy himself, herself. 3 Guardian Yugiohs, the big doozy. Yugioh is basically your best Guardian monster because if you know monsters in your graveyard, you can special summon it. I don't think it had that effect in the anime, but they gave it that effect, and we're more than happy because without backup Gardner, it's really hard. You can set Guardian monsters, so you can just set a KS, you can just set an Elma if you don't have the equip, but basically it comes down to you need to equip your opponent's monster with something like Butterfly Dagger Elma, then summon Elma, or equip your opponent's monster with Graviax Grarl, then summon Grarl. But if you don't do that, you can summon Yugioh. Basically, any game you open Yugioh is a good game for Rafael's deck, because when you come out of the gate swinging with a 2100 attack monster, it's really good. And that's Rafael's Trump monster. That was his Guardian Yugioh, so. 3 Guardian Elma. This is the easiest Guardian to summon, so a lot of times what you'll do is you'll summon Elma to pull back an equip like Graviax Grarl or like Rite of Silence KS. That way you can then summon that Guardian. So for example, if you checked out our Rafael vs Arcana duel, which I'll link here, I used Soul Charge to summon Yugioh and Elma out of the graveyard. Elma equips Graviax Grarl, I believe, it could be Rite of KS. And now that you Soul Charge to bring back Elma, and Elma put the Guardian equip on the field, say Graviax Grarl, you can now summon Grarl. So you have to do a lot of complicated plays like that, or you can monster Incarnation to get back an Elma, but then you waste your normal summon for the turn. But you have to really make your plays carefully. Elma will give you a lot of your value though for Rafael's deck, because once you get her out, it gives you access to other equips from your grave. And yeah, Rafael didn't use all the Guardian monsters, unfortunately. It was just Elma, Yugioh, Grarl, and KS. But anyway, here is Guardian Grarl. 2500 attack, comes out swinging pretty strongly. If he's the only monster in your hand, you can summon him without tribute, I believe. Yep, only card in your hand, yeah. Special summon without offering tribute. Yeah, but you get out Grarl and Yugioh, and they're the only ones you have on the field. Under Seal of Orichalco, so your opponent cannot attack either because they have the same attack. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I like Grarl. I like all of Rafael's Guardian monsters. Last monster in Rafael's deck, Guardian KS. 1800 defense, so she's kind of good to set if you don't have KS on the field. You can just set her. And other than that, I mean, she's alright. Then we have 3 Butterfly Dagger Elma. Because Elma's the easiest to summon and the Guardian that you want to see the most, basically have the level 4 Guardians, we put 3 Elma in Rafael's deck. Now, it will always return to your hand, so extra copies. You can equip multiple copies, but extra copies become a little redundant. Still, it's so important, because Rafael's deck, basically, if you don't see the respective equip for your Guardian, you can't play with the deck. So, 3 Elma. 2 Celestial Sword Yugioh. Just 500 attack to whatever. It has a bonus of if you have Yugioh on the field when you have Sword Yugioh equipped and Sword Yugioh sent to the graveyard, you can boost your Yugioh by 500 attack for each banished monster. Blue saw me do the first hand, I believe, in one game we played. 2 Exchange. So there's actually another way that you can help get your Guardians equips onto the field to summon the Guardians. You can exchange, grab a Gazelle out of your opponent's hand, grab a Malthal Demise, grab a Vorse Raider, whatever. Summon that monster, equip it with your Guardian equip, and now you can summon your Guardian. You know, obviously, yeah, that's less than ideal, but until we get back up Guardian, that's what you gotta do. You have to just make these kinds of plays. But exchange is just really good too, obviously, you know. Yugioh uses it, not much needs to really be said there. Then 2 Gravity Axe Grarl. Unlike Elma, which you need to see the Butterfly Dagger, really bad because Elma's the primary go-to Guardian to summon. You know, we only have 2 Gravity Axe Grarl on deck because obviously if we put 3 of every Guardian's equips, then you're just going to get hands full of equips with literally no monsters. But Gravity Axe is also pretty good because your opponent's monsters can't change position. 500 attack is pretty savage. I mean, Rafael's like, you can get some pretty powerful monsters, like especially if you have a, like if you have a few equips in Graveyard, then you can like you can even have a really powerful Elma. If you just like summon Elma, pull back Gravity Axe, then equip with like Celestial Sword out of your hand. That's already 2300 attack. If you see Laura Calicos, your Elma's 2800. So pretty crazy stuff can happen. 2 Guarded Treasure. This is one of Rafael's cooler cards. You have to discard 5 cards from your hand to activate it. You draw 2 cards, and then every draw phase you get to draw an extra 2 cards. So a lot of games, if you see this late, it's kind of dead. You won't have 5 cards in your hand at any point. You really just lose. However, this really helps Rafael's deck get going games where you see it early. Obviously, you'd like to open up with it because it's hard to find 5 cards in hand. Like turn 3 or turn 4, if you've had to like play Elma, play an equip, or play swords, set KS, or do a couple things, you may not ever get back up to 5 cards, making it hard to activate. But once you get it going, it's sometimes worth it to just like, if you have a swords, you can play swords, sit on the swords, not play any cards. So every turn you draw under swords, you build up to 5 cards in hand, activate this, and then you get going. Because 2 cards every turn really gets overwhelming. It's Power Greed every turn once you play it. So I feel you also need to watch your spell and trap zone because he has that, he has swords, and he has a ton of equips. So you get a very, very full spell and trap card zone sometimes. 3 Monster Incarnation. So Rafael was all about keeping his monsters out of the graveyard, and he had cards like Purity of the Cemetery that Konami, you know, like Backup Gardener, refuses to give us. But this is another good way. So for example, a lot of the times, if you have Yugioh in your hand and 1 monster was sent to the graveyard, it's worth it to use Monster Reincarnation or Soul Charge to pull your 1 monster out of the graveyard so you can summon Yugioh. Now the only problem is, if that monster in your graveyard is something like, say, Elma or Grarl, well, if you want to Soul Charge it out, you can't Soul Charge it until you have the equip. But if you don't have anything to equip the equip to until you summon the Yugioh, it's like a catch-22, and that's what makes it so difficult to play Rafael's deck. But Monster Incarnation just puts a monster in your hand. So that's one advantage that this has over Soul Charge in terms of just clearing your graveyard for Yugioh.
I feel like a lot of the cards Konami does not print are either monster destroying cards or card destroying cards and returning from the grave cards.
Oh yeah, like I know Grave Arm from Mai they don't print, Back into the Dark from Arcana they don't print. Those are both cards that destroy cards.
And the original Mystic Guillotine, which has been changed and changed and changed to the current tragedy, but the card we have and the card Arcana used, even if through over the time it evolved into the same card, it really is not the same card by any means.
By any stretch of the imagination.
And then Merrick had some cards, I think, but a lot of them had cards that, you know, did one of those 2 things.
But yeah, Monster Incarnation is a really good card for Rafael's deck. So now in the anime it had a slightly different effect, but we use it as it is because it would be pretty bad otherwise. 1 Reaper Scythe Dread Scythe. You can only equip it to Guardian Dread Scythe, so 90% of the time this is gonna be dead.
Yeah. 99% of the time.
99% of the time. By the way, guys, you can see the entire deck list typed up in our deck list document down below. So, you know, you can just check that out. See Rafael's full deck list typed up. Then we have 2 Rod of Silence KS, like Gravity Axe Grarl. Only 2. You know, you don't want too many equips. But you need to see the equips to see the Guardian monsters. Yeah. For Rod of Silence KS, makes whatever monster you equip to unaffected by spells. So you actually can't equip it with other spells. Like you can't put KS on something, then Grarl, and then Elma, Butterfly Dagger, Elma it. Moving on, 2 Shrink. A card Rafael borrowed from Kaiba. This is really good because remember, you can't always get to Yugioh or a Grarl. Sometimes you just have an Elma, you know, 1800 attack, whatever. Helps give her Blue Eyes Dark Magician. Rafael also has no traps. So this is really your only kind of defensive or reactive card to what your opponent does. So that's another thing that really limits Rafael's deck. you don't have defense. So if you don't have a swords, you need to build a field that you're confident won't be stopped. 2 Soul Charge. Everybody's favorite Rafael card. This card is nuts. Now, unlike competitive duels, you're probably not going to be summoning 4 or 5 monsters off this. Just blast away 5,000 life points. Summon 5 monsters, wreck your opponent. You know, it's hard to get, you know, a lot of monsters in the graveyard. You can only have so many equips on the field, right? So if you've, like, guarded treasure up, you know, you have a card set like Shrink, you need to activate Soul Charge. Well, you can only have space for 2 equips, which means you can't bring back like Garl, Elma, and KS. You know, you need to pick 2, if you even have them in your graveyard. But like I said before, this card's really good for like getting, like Elma and Yugioh are basically 2 best cards to summon off this. Like you can Elma, pull and equip back. Now that you Soul Charge Elma, you pulled and equip, you know, and then say you have another monster like a set KS or something, you can now summon Garl by triggering a set monster. Because Elma gave you that Gravity Axe Garl. You know, just really good plays. And you can't conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this, so sort of almost fair. 3 Swords of Feeling Light. What can you say? Really, really helpful. Really helps you see more cards. And for example, if you don't open up with Yugioh and you have no cards in your graveyard, you have a 6-card hand, you play Swords. Now, while you still have no cards in your graveyard, no monsters, you have 3 more turns, 3 more opportunities to draw into Yugioh for getting special summon right off the bat. You know, it also just helps keep you alive. You know, if you don't have Rod of KS, but you have a KS, but you do have Gravity Axe Garl and you have a Garl in hand, you can Swords, set KS, you know it's going to live the next turn unless they spell Trap removal. Then you equip something like your opponent's face a monster with Gravity Axe Garl to be your set KS for Garl. Last card on Rafael's deck, 2 Seal of Orichalcos. Now, yeah, you can only play 1 Orichalcos, but we didn't want to include only 1 because you'd probably never draw it. You can't consistently draw a card you only play 1 of. Whereas in the anime, when they played Seal of Orichalcos, they would get to it fairly reliably. They would draw it pretty consistently. But we didn't want to put 3 in there because then his deck, once you get the first one, the other 2 are dead. You know, can't be destroyed once per turn, so it's unlikely your opponent's going to spell and trap removal for it. So we thought 2 is the best number. Makes it easier to see. You know, so you can probably see it most games, at least if the game goes on for more than a few turns. But you're not going to be drawing just 3 of them dead. And thank God they made this card. Now, hopefully they should make other cards of, like, Alistairs and Valens, so we can actually build, you know, more of the Doma people's decks than just Rafael. But
yeah. I mean, we'll have to see about Alistair. I mean, his deck was war-based. I mean, obviously, he got by in the anime.
Yeah, but they're really stingy about war cards being printed in real life.
I don't know, it's violent. Whatever it is, it's some stupid PC nonsense. But Valens armor cards were like super awesome, and I think a lot of people would love to have those, especially because of the way they worked. It was interesting.
Hey, they're coming out with new pack, Dragons of Legend Unleashed. Maybe we'll get more cards from Awakening the Dragons. Nope, doesn't seem like it. Why would Konami put Awakening the Dragons cards in Dragons of Legend Unleashed?
Yeah, they're reprinting cards, which is great for some people.
Yeah, that actually is helpful, but
because to mine it's like a $4 card right now, but at the same time it's like, you know, we could have new cards, so we could have more.
Like the other 2 Seal of Orichalcos is the 2nd and 3rd layer, so we can make a darts deck. But oh well, yeah. Konami does what Konami wants.
But again, like we do in a lot of stuff, we add, you know, cards for, like we add duplicates, not just to fill the deck, but also for consistency. Because remember, everything anime is scripted to work like that.
Yeah,
they're going to draw their boss monsters, and they're going to get their key cards. That doesn't work that way. So we add 2 to that for that consistency, and then if you draw them both, the second one's dead. It's unfortunate, but yeah.
Anyway, guys, that was Rafael's deck profile. Hopefully you like it. You know, we thought we built it pretty well until we get back up Garden, and we definitely tried to make it as playable as possible. But let us know what you think. Also, look for new content to come. We are always going to be releasing a bunch of new decks. We actually put on our Facebook that we're coming out with a GX Wave pretty soon, so that's really cool. Look for 5 new GX decks to come out. And besides that, we've been introducing a lot of other cool changes to the channel, like new camera angles during games, stuff like that. So look forward to that and other cool changes. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And if you really love us, click a couple ads, send a little money your way. That's what we use to build decks. As always, thanks, guys.